So relating to the previous topic, what I wanted to do was almost talk from, so I'm an engineer. Engineering is often kind of based on sciences, and when you kind of go through your career, especially at the start of the degree, before you actually go into the really complicated maths and stuff, you kind of learn a broad range of topics on stuff that really helps you look at it. And one of the things that I really kind of took inspiration from quite recently, I mentioned it last week, there's a mathematician called Terence Tao, and he's exceptionally good. He's a Fields medal winner. He's one of the most talented people in that field in the world. And what he was talking about when in some of his kind of talks is actually even the smartest people in the world never have the correct answers first time from scratch. It just doesn't happen. So almost because of that, we should never actually get distracted or disheartened if things maybe aren't going quite as well as we hoped. But that's just almost what we should do and how we work. But this is also massively true with business. But there are things that we can do and actually not be too hard on yourself when you follow this process, because this is true for anyone in any field, in science, in maths, in business, in anything, in sports, that actually the first thing you always want to do is try different things. One of the things that you should almost do is that when you first kind of launch your business strategy, a lot, especially in tech, people talk about the lean startup, where essentially you want to get your minimum viable product out to a customer as quickly as possible. Try different things. There's something called A/B testing, where basically give some people this and some people that, see which one works better, and then actually pick the one that works best and then do the same. But it's a way to kind of keep getting your stuff out there that, again, nobody's going to nail it first time, but actually it's that iterative process that if you take the example of an iPhone, so this is an iPhone 13 Pro, but the original iPhone, people look back and think, oh, it was incredible, but it wasn't. It didn't have 3G. It couldn't really do much. It wasn't actually that good, but people thought it was revolutionary because of some certain things through the screen and touch and drag and stuff. But the whole point was they didn't sit on the original product. They constantly did the iPhone 3G, and then they basically did the iPhone 4, and they gradually revolved, and then they improved the processors, so that now it's a really, really good product, as are any modern kind of smartphone. But they didn't start that way. And it's that kind of thing of how you need to almost try, do things and see what works and see what doesn't. So the next thing is learn. See what works for your industry and see what doesn't. This will be true for marketing or science or maths or whatever. I watched an article yesterday, and it was a BBC fusion reactor article, I guess. And it was how for, I guess, 30 to 50 years now, with almost unlimited funding, people around the world have been trying to look at how you can create nuclear fusion as a power source. That traditional nuclear reactors are fission, and that's quite easy to do. But the point is, the biggest challenges are the hardest to do. And what they're essentially doing is learning, trying to see what works, see what doesn't, then change things, tweak things. But the point is, that's exactly what you need to do with your business. When you actually, start to do your marketing promotion, if something isn't working for you, it's not really getting likes or traction or feedback, chances are you need to tweak it and change it. One of the things we talk about on the course is actually the more that you understand your customer, their needs, their wants, their desires, what is important to them, you can basically try different things. And then likewise, we also talk about something called SWOT and pestle analysis. So pestle analysis is basically how you look at the world, about how political, environmental, social, legal, technological changes kind of change over time. And one of the big things, which is really a big driver for me in the roadmap, is actually middle class and low and class workers. With inflation, which is a massively important topic right now in the world, is that there are a lot of people out there kind of getting squeezed. Their bills are going up, the energy prices are going up, that things like education will become more and more of a luxury, because actually, especially in America, it's massively, massively expensive. That what I hate is almost the wage inequality, and almost inequality to education and different stuff in general. But the point is, the more I actually kind of look and see what's going on in the world, I watched a video on YouTube this morning, it really helps me understand and pivot to really understand the customer, the drivers that they're going through, that actually it's how can we look to solve those for me with my business and what I'm looking to do. But it's also important to do for you, and it doesn't matter if you sell marker pens, there could be chemicals in these that could be outlawed, or maybe they're not as environmentally friendly as they could be, it's still a plastic pen. Are there things that you can do to learn and improve to really help pivot the business, which I think is really, important. A really important one, and this I think is almost a psychological point of view. Finding what doesn't work is still progress. So if you want to test something and it just falls flat, doesn't work, doesn't help bring you any forward, that's still progress, because basically what you're doing then is learning what not to do. For trying to find out what paths not to follow is a really important part of strategy, as much as knowing what to do. But often people see it as a negative, or actually, that's just not the case. Most entrepreneurs, I think it's Thomas Edison, basically people always remember you for the one success, but there's the 400, the 4,000 failures before you ever get to that. And almost embracing failure and actually not being able to fail is really important. As long as you learn from it, and then every actual failure can put you back in the right direction of actually the right thing to do and the right way to go, even though at the time it might be disheartening, actually you're still kind of making progress. And then likewise, just to kind of finish off, really embrace that kind of process. Nobody is ever perfect from scratch. If you're really looking to tackle a difficult problem, it's not going to be easy. So actually really kind of own that process, that as long as you kind of expect. So for me with the roadmap, I said right at the start that it'll be like a 10-year journey, which it will. The more I kind of learn and get feedback, and I had someone reach out to me this morning who was interested in the course. And one of the things that I really wanted to say was actually, look, I'll send you a course, get some feedback, see if it's for you, because actually this is someone that's kind of been through their career, necessarily didn't go to the university kind of route. And is it right for them? Is it not right for them? And that is a great way for me to learn and get feedback for different demographics and different people. And it's that process that the more and more I kind of do that, and the more streams I do, and the more Trustpilot reviews and stuff that I get, it's really important. And then likewise, when you kind of go through that process, there's a lady called Deborah on the course who I sent a pack to, and unfortunately the postman didn't necessarily provide great customer service. He chucked it over a wall, it got wet, and obviously as a paper kind of book, it got damaged. And she got in touch and was still very thankful. But I sent her another one, and I sent her put a note in it just to do with customer service, because to me that's really, really important. But again, part of the process of trying to launch a global business and an educational business, it's never going to be perfect up front. And some of the logistical challenges have been really difficult to deal with. Just when I ship physical stuff, it's expensive and it takes a lot of time. So I'm kind of working on a pivot at the moment to kind of solve that, which is quite kind of exciting. And then last but not least, just on the same point about learning, also when you look at your competitors, I Googled one of the biggest companies in the world that works with like 4,000 global universities, including people like Harvard, who do a lot of their online education kind of stuff. And what was interesting was that on the face of it, they look really impressive, that they turn over like $900 million and whatever. But because they're publicly funded, you can go into their investor page and you actually can see all of their earnings and financial figures, because they have to tell the market how they're doing, because that's how the stock market kind of works. And in my background, it was on the things that we had to do. But basically for every year since they launched, which I think was 2014, in 2014 they lost $30 million. They've been at it for now, what's that, 7 years now? Last year they lost $200 million. So their losses are actually going up, they're not going down. But then actually what it's really doing is actually to really give me confidence in what I'm doing, to really look and learn about what makes other people good or bad. How can we learn from it? How can we differentiate? And that's something that we'll teach on the course, and especially in the kind of online kind of classroom sessions when we can talk it through. Really understanding what is it that makes you special? What is it that makes you unique? And really we focus on that. But it's, on face value, you might think, oh God, my competitor does 10 times the revenue that you do. But actually, they could still be losing money. It doesn't mean that they've got a better business. And it's that kind of thing is really important. But just embracing the process, embracing potential failure, embracing the process of learning and development is actually part of the fun of the journey. Because especially for me, it's that balance where actually if I can outthink and outcompete my competitors, I know I'll win in the end. And the ability to, people always talk about startups, to pivot and change and adapt is actually a massive, massive strength. That those guys who've had, I guess, yeah, okay, they're at $1 billion almost in revenue, but they would have had hundreds of millions of pounds of investment to just scrap that ship and start again is something they can't really do, is where I can, because it's just me. But it's really interesting to kind of just go through that process. So the point is, if you ever can, I don't know, launch a business or even go through your career, maybe you're doing job applications, that kind of thing, and maybe you're not quite getting the responses and stuff that maybe you want. Look from it, maybe learn what isn't working, speak to the kind of recruitment agent, get feedback. But the point is, just treat it as a process to constantly learn and improve and stuff as well. If you catch up on YouTube, my name is Steve Pugh. I talk about business and entrepreneurship stuff. I've got a business course called the Roadmap MBA. Check it out. It's www.roadmapmba.com. And yeah, I would love it if you get in touch.